Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for Adobe on AI, orchestrating real world agentic AI workflows. I'm your host, Lindsay Morris from Adobe, and today we'll be learning from enterprise leaders Tracy Kraft from SAP, transformation leader Britt Bowman, Anish Rahul from Sling TV, and Adobe's Gina Casagrande. So today we are going to show real world examples for how agentic AI is reshaping enterprises at scale. So here's how today's show is going to flow. First, Britt is going to center us on building the foundation for true AI transformation. Then Gina will show us Adobe's new CX Enterprise Coworker that turns goals into orchestrated action. After that, Anish will explain how they map agentic workflows for learning and scaling at Sling TV. And then Tracy will uncover AI as a new persona and explain how SAP creates and scales content for AI mediated discovery. And then Gina will bring it home, showcasing a demo of Adobe brand visibility. And then finally, hopefully we will have time for some Q&A, so feel free to send questions as we go. We also have experts responding to your questions in the background, so don't be shy. And then when something piques your interest, let us know in the survey to the right of your screen, and we'll be sure to follow up. And yes, this session is being recorded, and it'll be sent to you after we wrap. Okay, so to help frame up today's discussion, let's start with a quick audience poll. What is the biggest barrier to scaling AI across your organization today? A, data and systems are not connected. B, governance, security, and trust concerns. C, identifying high value use cases. Or D, organization alignment and change management. I'm seeing a lot of answers coming in. Thank you for sharing your responses with us. These challenges come opportunities, right? And so we're going to cover many of these topics in today's session. All right, so let's get into it. We are going to start with the foundation it is all built on. I am so thrilled to welcome Britt Bowman. Hi, Britt.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I am so thrilled to have you. Britt is an enterprise transformation and AI leader with 20 years in the industry, focused on connecting people to systems and strategy to execution. Most recently at ServiceNow, she built the context engine behind the company's go to market operation, the shared data and taxonomy layer beneath every campaign, asset, and team. Britt, what a treat to have you. We are excited for you to set the foundation for today's session and for AI transformation. So I am going to get out of the way and let you take it away.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to come right out and say it that everybody else is going to show something very cool. And I'm going to talk about what has to be true first, or none of it can work out that way. Because in my experience, the tech's rarely the hard part. It's the foundation underneath it that is. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right. So I'm just going to start out. Here is my whole argument. Marketing exists to drive revenue. I know, florals for spring, groundbreaking, right? But I'm not saying that awareness doesn't matter or that brand equity isn't real. They absolutely are. And they pay off over a longer horizon than any single quarter. But all of it is in service of revenue. And when marketing underperforms, it's rarely because somebody did bad work. It's because things are pointed in different directions. Your people are pointed at different goals. Your money is pointed at things that don't. Thank you. Your money is pointed at things that don't move the number, and your systems don't agree on what words mean. Everybody's optimizing against their own dashboard. So it's the same failure with three layers: people, money, and machines. And we've worked across people, money, and machines for decades and survived, but things have changed. AI is creating not new problems, but it is industrializing them. Everything that used to be one bad handoff becomes every handoff at scale, everywhere at once. So I've got 3 lessons for you today, all of them similarly unglamorous, and all of them the reason that your implementation either works or stalls. So I want you to stick with me on this one, okay? I want you to think about your organization like an enormous couch with removable cushions. And if you've ever had an enormous couch with removable cushions, you know that ultimately everything of value that you own ends up stuck between those cushions. Digital has a cushion, brand, product, campaigns, everybody has one. And every one of those teams is smart, well run, and optimizing for their own cushion, and they should be, because that's what they're measured on. But very few people in marketing understand what happens before their function or after it. So work gets handed across a seam that nobody owns. So digital's optimizing for clicks, brand for awareness, product for newest solution, campaigns for pipeline. And every one of those is a real metric, but none of them alone adds up to revenue. It takes all of us. So if you optimize only your own cushion, you're leaving revenue on the table. So let's get into lesson one. Lesson one is align your incentives to revenue, not activity. Outcomes over activity. And I want to be really clear. Nobody in any of these stories is doing a bad job. They're doing their job as we've defined it. And most of my examples today come from a single implementation, the one that Lindsay set up earlier. So I'm just going to set the stage here. We built the end-to-end content supply chain on the Adobe stack. It ran from strategic planning through campaign planning, content, asset development, and to the digital ads in market. It landed with predictable metadata for the digital team so they could push it into the ad systems. And it connected down into the CRM and across into fiscal data. One language, end to end. Very proud of that work. So then what do you think happened? Well, what always happens? The organization changed. And this change meant that the brand team took ownership of the creative work. And I mean all of it, not just what we historically think of as brand creative. All content, all campaign assets, everything that went to market was now going through brand. And now their goal was to consolidate to fewer agencies and save several $1 million. That is a noble goal, and they hit it. And it's a real number. It's defensible, and anybody here would put it in a business review and be proud of it. But to get there, they really didn't want to have to use the system we just built. They wanted their own tooling, customizable, maybe disconnected from that taxonomy, so they could flex in real time. And I get it. I want that too. It's not nefarious. They wanted flexibility and the ability to hit their own target number. Since creative through that, it didn't align to ontology, and we'll cover ontology in a second. And because it didn't align to the ontology, it didn't carry the correct metadata when it was added after the fact. And because it didn't carry the correct metadata, when an SDR opened an opportunity in the CRM, they couldn't tell what campaign it came from, what content that person engaged with, or what they were supposed to say next. So brand, campaigns, digital, all delivered against what they were measured against. And the SDR was measured on meetings booked, and they were doing everything they could with what they were handed. Every single person in that chain hit their number. Their dashboards looked fine, but none of them was measured on whether the chain held together or on whether that opportunity had enough information in it to drive revenue. So here's the principle. People do what they're incentivized to. The same will go for your agents. They don't do what they're told to do, but they're incentivized to do. So when you find behavior you don't like, stop looking for the bad actor and go look for the metric. People may be getting rewarded for that exact behavior that you're seeing, which means before you go optimize your process, your technology, your operating model, fix the goals and incentives first, and everything else is downstream from that. All right, so let's imagine that we've aligned our goals. We've aligned our incentives. Time for lesson 2. And it's all about data. Now, I'm not here to go tell you to scrub all your historical data. Sure, maybe some, but there's diminishing returns on that work. Now, I'm here to talk about your data model. Taxonomy is what we call things in one system, but ontology that I mentioned before, that's what it means in the context of your organization. It's denotation versus connotation. What does it definitively mean versus what does it mean in context? Now, you're going to have several places where your data and your content live, and each one has its own taxonomy. It's normal, it's fine. I don't need my finance data sitting inside my content repository. I want them connected, but it doesn't have to be all together. But some fields do live in both places. Your industry or region product maybe. And for those fields, the values have to match. So here's a story that bothers me daily that I'm now going to share with you. Same implementation. We had a field for how our partners in our ecosystem were involved with an event or piece of content. Did they help create it, co-develop it, co-host it? And one of the values in that dropdown was partner participated, past tense. Now, over in the partner portal, where partners actually go to do deal registration and find their leads, that value was partner participation, off by just a couple of letters. That's not a difficult fix. It's pretty easy. But the problem is that we didn't know that they weren't aligned. And here's why it continues to hurt me. They used to match. When we built those two systems, they agreed. And then somebody on one side of that integration asked to change that value because participated, past tense, read as misleading for an event that hadn't happened yet. It's totally reasonable. The problem is nobody told the other team. So the two systems that were built aligned drifted apart, one reasonable request at a time. And nothing told us until we audited it. There wasn't an alert for that. No dashboard had a widget for it. It was silent because all of our error handling was telling us that the data was flowing, leads were flowing, and it was just a tiny leak. And then here's the part that should really worry you about this. The gap that was silent for months, it definitely could have cost our partners leads. But think about what happens when you point an agent at optimizing the fields themselves. And many organizations are doing this across their stacks. And it's creating significant context drift that adds up to revenue lost. Adding, changing, removing values from dropdowns is a highly repeatable task. So let's put an agent on it, right? It's happening across all your systems. You're updating values in your campaign system based on your new company strategy, your content system based on new products and offerings, your CRM based on new markets. Who's governing the drift? So here's the principle. Your integrations and your agents are only as good as your agreements about meaning, and those agreements decay. Every place two systems touch is a place your organization decided what a word means, and most of the time nobody wrote it down, and nobody owns keeping it true. Getting your ontology right once isn't the job. Keeping it right, that's the job. Okay, last lesson, lesson 3. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't know how everybody's going to feel about this one because we get pretty territorial about our budget, don't we? But if you're here, this is the situation you're probably in. You're about to be asked to fund a lot of AI if you haven't been already. More requests than you have money for. So the question isn't whether AI is worth investing in, it's which AI gets funded first. And there's one number that answers that in marketing. And I'll come right back to the beginning. It's revenue. If I was the CEO of a big car company, pick your favorite, I absolutely care about things like colors, defects on the line, how fast the windows roll up and down, but mostly in relation to the number of cars we sell. And marketing needs to be the same way. Let's say you have 4 AI opportunities on your desk. One of them optimizes open rates, one improves aided awareness, one's a quality of life improvement for the team. I want that. And one of them cuts your campaign time to market in half. So you get to market faster, you respond in real time, and you take more shots. Now, I want all of those things. But which one gets the most cars sold? In the organizations I've worked with, if we have to start somewhere, that last one should probably come first because it has the biggest, most immediate impact on the number. And I'm not saying the others never get funded. I'm saying you don't get to fund all of these or not apply the test at all based on where your organization is struggling in the buying journey and call it an AI strategy. Strategy is not first come, first served, and your budget shouldn't be either. So here's the principle, and maybe it's a little uncomfortable. Every metric on your dashboard was a proxy for revenue when somebody invented it. Give it enough time, and we defend the proxy instead of the real thing. Pipeline, awareness, open rate, all proxies. And the AI that moves the revenue number, the real number, that's the one that should get funded first. Okay, so we finished our lessons, do all of that, and you've built the foundation for AI to scale. And maybe next time we'll talk about how to make it stick with change management, yeah? But one final thing before we go, it's a quick test for when and where to apply those AI enhancements. So you can stop asking how to enhance your work with AI and instead target your organization's areas of friction with precision. One, and we spent this whole time talking about this. Am I confident I have the right foundation? Do my dollars, my goals, my incentives, my systems agree with each other, not just yesterday, but today and a year from now? 2, where's the real friction? Not where does it feel slow, but where is it actually costing you? And 3, and this is a hard one, Which friction needs human judgment and which friction gets optimized out? And the order matters. Most teams I work with jump straight to question 2 and never ask themselves 1 or 3. And that's how you automate the wrong thing faster. Because some friction is pain. Some friction is a process you never needed that should be removed altogether. Some is ripe for automation or AI, and some friction is judgment, and that's where your governance lives. So if you want somewhere to start on Monday, here it is. Find yourself 2 systems that hand off to each other and compare the values in the fields they share. Not the field names, the values are where it breaks. Start with the handoffs that touch revenue. You'll probably find something that afternoon. Then go find the other leaders who own those systems, those processes, those technologies. You can't fix a seam by yourself. That's what a seam is. So start building the capability to manage context drift so it doesn't happen again the next time somebody makes a perfectly reasonable request. It is unsexy work. It's also where this work actually starts. So this is what I want to leave you with. Whether you sit in brand or product, digital or campaigns, don't optimize your cushion, optimize the couch.
Optimize the couch. I am not going to forget that. Britt, that was so full of insight. Also, okay, don't optimize the cushion, optimize for the couch. I'm remembering that. It really stuck with me when you talked about aligning incentives to revenue, not activity. That is something that we talk to our customers. We hear their challenges trying to sort of figure that out. And that was so clearly explained there. So thank you. It's a really important piece of this puzzle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll be back at Q&A.
Yes, we'll see you back. Don't go far. Okay, speaking of enterprise context, Gina Casagrande is here. We are so excited to show you Adobe's new CX Enterprise Coworker in action. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me here today. And thanks to everyone who joined us today. Great job, Britt. That was really very informational. I learned so much today already.
Yes.
Super excited to share.
Me too. So we are so excited. CX Enterprise Coworker was announced this year at Summit. It just recently went GA. Gina, we're excited to learn from you. So I am going to hand it over to you.
Perfect. Great. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for being here. As I said, I'm Gina Casagrande, Director of Customer Experience Orchestration Evangelism. And today we're going to see Adobe CX Enterprise Coworker live. But before we get into seeing it live, I just wanted to do a quick refresher on Adobe CX Enterprise. This is our end-to-end agentic AI system that enables marketers to boost their brand visibility, accelerate the content supply chain, as Britt said, and then deliver personalized customer engagements. And it's with AI, not just assisting, but actually executing. Running across all of this is CX Analytics, giving teams a conversational, AI-driven way to understand their performance across journeys, content, and interactions. And this is all powered by the AI platform underneath. That's where agentic AI comes to life through things like the CX Enterprise Coworker and a growing ecosystem of agents, skills, tools, and MCPs that streamline the time-intensive tasks and help you deliver customer experience objectives. This is all powered also by Adobe Experience Platform, providing real-time governed data foundation that makes this all scalable and trustworthy. And it's an open and composable system with native integrations with the AI tools that your teams use every day. So we meet you where you are. And agents, as Britt was saying, are only ever as good as the context and the governance behind them. And that's Adobe's difference. It's AI grounded in your brand, your data, and your guardrails. So let's see it in action with Adobe CX Enterprise Coworker. So this is your always-on AI teammate for customer experience work. Instead of switching between applications, you can simply describe what you want in natural language, and Coworker helps turn your ideas into action. Suggested prompts can help you get started, and recent chats let you pick up where you left off. And whether you're building audiences, analyzing performance, or launching new campaigns, everything starts in one conversational experience. So let's check it out. Let's try something simple. I'll ask Coworker, what can you help me with? A very simple question, but this is what you could all do to start using Coworker on day one. And here's what it comes back with. Right out of the box, day one, you can see it's shipping with a bunch of different capabilities our customers use, from analytics, audience building, journeys and campaigns, brand governance, and more. So there's a bunch you can do without having to set anything up with Coworker. Now, because I have limited time, I want to take you through a couple complex use cases and the value you get with Coworker. Let's say that you need to launch a campaign tomorrow, build an audience of customers who purchased in the last 90 days, have a gold or higher loyalty tier, and haven't opened an email in 14 days. I'm going to ask to estimate the size and to publish it. Now, because I only have 5 minutes for this demo, I'm going to go show you the results of that. So first, Coworker compresses the work, so speed becomes the default. It doesn't just answer questions, it creates a plan. Here we can see the plan. Step one, it's going to check and see if there are already audiences that I could reuse. And then it makes a recommendation. It's actually saying build a new audience. So step two, it defines where in my XDM or my foundation I have those fields for building that audience. And it's working across connected systems, and it keeps going until the task is complete. So here we can see, it's found something that it needs to actually fix and retry. It's relentless. So if one approach doesn't work, it automatically adjusts and tries another. And it has built-in governance. So when an action requires approval, in this case, it's flagged that there's a small audience. It's checking, do I really want to build this? I love that. It's prompting me before taking action and gives me the confidence to automate more while I stay in control. And so what used to take hours or even days, it can now be completed in a few moments, giving me the time to focus on strategy instead of execution. Now, let's try another prompt. In this case, let's say I am not an analyst, but I want to understand some important analytics data, some insights around our checkout abandonment rate by device type for this month. I want to see where we might be losing people in the funnel. And that's where Coworker makes complex tasks simple, so anyone can do work that once required deep product expertise. I can just ask this question in plain language, and Coworker makes it easy for me to explore these insights and make strategic decisions. So here we see rich interactive charts and tables right here within the conversation. So I don't need to really hand this off to an analyst. I can ask Coworker right here. And finally, Coworker helps me accomplish more than ever before by orchestrating work across my data, applications, and AI capabilities. In this case, I'm asking to scan everything I already have, my Adobe data, my internal systems, CRM, and then I want to see best practices. Show me the gaps, show me what I'm missing. And this is so powerful because it can analyze the data, create audiences, journeys, and content at a scale that just isn't possible for me to do manually. So let's talk about really quickly what is powering all of this. Now, behind every task are skills. And intelligence from CX Enterprise Coworker orchestrates across all of these, selecting the right skill at the right moment for the right job to be done. So here are these reusable capabilities that teach Coworker how to solve specific business problems. So for example, we have the CJA root cause analysis skill. I could actually customize this existing skill, or as an organization, I can add my own. That's where I can capture my workflows, terminology, best practices. And Coworker also connects securely to the tools and data your teams already use. That means it can work across Adobe applications, our internal systems, but also third-party services, all from a single conversation. And it remembers your preferences and business context, making every conversation more personal and more useful over time. And that's what makes CX Enterprise Coworker so powerful. It brings together business context, connected systems, customizable skills, memory, and built in governance so you can turn your ideas into action. It enables you to move faster, work smarter, and do more than was possible than ever before. So start exploring and see what you can accomplish with your new AI teammate. Back to you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Gina. It is so amazing to see that example live of the end-to-end workflow. For the audience, if you'd like to learn more or get a custom demo, let us know on the right of your screen. We will follow up with you. Also, again, if you have questions, we have experts responding in the background, so ask away. All right, Gina, we will see you soon. Okay, next up, we have Anish Raul from Sling TV here with us. But first, a quick commercial break.
I wish I could just watch live sports at home for a great price.
Sling lets you do that. Sling lets you do that.
Choose and customize your channel lineup or pause and watch for free. Sling lets you do that. Base package required.
I am so excited to welcome Anish Raul, Senior Marketing Lead for Sling TV. Anish specializes in leveraging cutting edge tools and insights to design personalized, high impact web experiences and engaging digital narratives. His work spans innovative social media campaigns, transformative personalization strategies, and creative leadership. Anish, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Lindsay, thank you for that fantastic intro. I'm almost blushing. It's such an honor to it's such an honor to be speaking to the community and also representing Sling TV. We bring fantastic live television to millions of American households every day. And it just puts me in an incredible opportunity to impact a lot of lives and learn so much and share some of that here.
We are
All right, so
excited for you to learn from you and for you to share it with us. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you.
thanks, Lindsay. Right, so we had some fantastic conversations to tee up to this point. With Brett, we learned what's important from a foundational perspective to have AI work for you. With Gina, we learned the art of what's possible at enterprise scale today. And I'm going to be talking about the in between, which is, well, there's a lot of cool things possible with AI agents in the space of enterprise marketing. Can you build your own solutions? And when should you build your own solutions? How do you even go about building your own AI agents? So these are some of the learnings that I've had in my journey in agentic marketing. I would say over the last 2 years, a lot of it has been exposure, learning from what's possible at Adobe summits, and me trying to recreate some of that for my use cases. So let's get into it. Right. So the first thing you need to do, here's 5 things you need to do to build your own AI agent. All right. Um, for quick context, an AI agent is someone who is a software that has certain tools that can accomplish goals by using those tools, and it's expected to be autonomous or to do the work for you. Right? The agent, I take that as a standing for agency, where it can think for itself and help you out. So how do you build an AI agent? There's 5 steps that I usually follow. The first one is pick your work. Just take a real hard look at the problem you're trying to solve and understand, can AI help automate parts of it, right? So first is understanding what part of or what project do you want to use AI to automate it for. The second is map the actual workflow. I'll give you an example. Now, a big part of my job today uh, includes making sure the sling.com website is showing the right offers, right messages to customers who come in to make a purchase to watch live TV, right? Uh, all of that work almost always includes the same steps. Can we look at baseline data? Can we look at what's on TV today? Can we merchandise it in the most valuable real estate on the website and analyze that data again, right? It's the same process. Once you map that workflow out, then you can understand, okay, in these 4 chunks, let's say there's discovery, there's analysis, there's implementation, there's analysis and optimization again. Can we map specific tools to each step of the workflow, right? So that's step number 3. Step number 4 is connect them. This workflow that I mentioned, all of us have been doing it traditionally in different parts, like where you actually look at different sources, and then you are the connecting piece between those different sources, or like Brett was saying earlier, uh, you're possibly gonna be deconnective tissue between different teams and different processes, and how do you automate them and connect them and take yourself out of the loop. And the last one is figure out which parts of that automation or the process do you want to be involved in. We've heard about the term human in the loop a lot, and that really is where does the human operator or owner come in and give their judgment, right? So pick the work, map the workflow, assign tools, connect them, and then figure out where you want to place the judgment. It's a very simple process. And if you think of it, if you take a step back, this is exactly what you do when you're kind of trying to onboard a new team member or you're trying to expand your current team, right? You take a look at your workflow, you break it down, and you help understand someone, hey, this is how this production cycle works, right? So that's just taking a good stock of the use case and understanding what tools can help you automate that with an agent, right? Um, Next up, I'm going to talk more about point number two in my previous slide. This one is how do you map that workflow, right? So, and that's where things get really important because, like Brett has been saying, like Gina has been saying, context is really important. Without the right context, things get fuzzy really fast, right? So, how you map the workflow? You got to map it against these four parameters. I find that very helpful. First is what is the input? What is required for a particular project to or production cycle to take place, right? Sometimes that brief is in the form of an email, a written template, a meeting. Sometimes if it's a data analysis ask, if it's a digital production cycle, you want to actually take some PDFs or some dashboards and put them as the input, right? So understand what the input is. Next is what happens when you get that input, right? What is the action that happens? Do you want your AI agent to do some data analysis, come up with insights, help you draft responses? Can be any of those things, right? Third is decision. You've got the input, you've got the action, and then there's a decision. What happens with that action, right? A lot of decisions can be straightforward, like if this happens, then do that, and that's pretty straightforward. Some decisions, like in the web merchandising example that I was giving, are dynamic. We want to make sure we change things up depending on a few factors, right? And that, again, when I say depending on a few factors, that means, again, look at how it's performing. Are there any other nuances that you need to account for before making that decision? Whenever there's a fork, that's when a human in the loop is required for making those key decisions. And lastly, decide what is the output. What do you want the output of the AI agent to be? Do you want it to be a React component, which is exported in the form of code? Do you want it to be um, do you want it to be an image output? Do you want it to be a slides format? Do you want it to be, so decide the output. Map any workflow with input, action, decision, and output. And that's a very good way to start off laying down the foundations of your AI, agentic AI workflow. Okay. There's also one sentence test, and I've covered this in this topic previously, is if any decision is not simple enough or straightforward or needs additional context, it's almost always a good call to have a human in the loop in that process, review that output, and then push for the next step. Right? And now I have two examples for you. You can look at the blueprint and try to recreate that if it makes sense, but I can promise you the fundamentals will still apply. The first one is a use case that we solved for very recently at the company. We do what is called web ribbon merchandising. So any day you go to sling.com, on the website, you will find a ribbon on top which calls out, hey, this particular thing is happening on TV right now. Let's say there's a fantastic NBA game, and here's the channel that you need to watch it on, and here's the package that kicks you to watch it, right? It's the same process every week, every month, every day, but it needs to be accurate. There's a lot of human judgment, just making sure we're promising the right thing to customers because people can be very touchy about their TV and we want to meet them where they are. So it's important to be very accurate with that information. And that was the use case we were trying to solve for. Right? And we broke that use case down and we followed the same process that I've been talking about. So first one in the use case was you have to gather all the sources. Once you have all the sources, you have to write copy around it to articulate what the sources told you. And the third one is you have to review and ship it out, right? It's a very simple three-step production process. The question was, can we have an AI agent help us with all of these and execute this sequence, right? Gather sources, come up with new copy, and send it back for revision, right? So when we map those three chunks out, We also mapped them out against input, action, decision, and output. So for the gather sources pieces, for the input, we realized there's actually 5 different documents that the team members have to look at every time we want to draft a new copy, right? So that's the next step. So the input was these different sources of information. The action is you have to compile that for today, what's relevant today, right? The decision is what if there's 3, 4 conflicting priorities? That's when human would say, okay, prioritize this. And the output is okay. This is what we're talking about today. So that's for the gathering sources piece. We decided, okay, this is what needs to be done. Once you have your sources, then you got to draft bang a copy. Again, input is you get all the sources and then you start acting on it, right? And the last one was review and ship. So again, understand the workflow, map your workflow and break it down to what is expected input, action, decision, and output. And then make sure you have someone reviewing the output. Now, for this particular workflow, we figured out that Notebook LM by Google or Google's LM Studio, that is a very good sandbox AI agent to solve for this use case. And we're like, okay, that's cool. It can effectively help us gather sources, craft panel copy, and send things out for review. And this whole workflow was able to solve for something which takes 2 to 4 hours every week to now 15 minutes, right? So that's again, that goes on to show that if you understand your workflow well enough and you map out exactly what you expect the AI agent to do, you're going to get way closer to a defensible and actually implementable result, right? I'll have another example for you, and feel free to apply these or contextualize these for your use cases. Is something that I'm building right now. It's called Ether. Ether stands for Advanced Engine for Testing and High Efficiency Revenue. The AI named itself. I did not come up with the name, but essentially, it's I'm trying to solve for a digital experience pipeline. What is it to surface any digital experience? There's almost always 4 things we need to do. We need to analyze what the data is telling us. Based on the analysis, you come up with hypotheses to test into. Then you deploy those hypotheses, and then you evaluate the performance, and then you run the cycle all over again, right? When I describe this particular use case, it's vast. It takes us a week or 2 weeks to execute this whole cycle at our fastest, right? What I did is I broke down that workflow again. Who does what? I was like, okay, we need a data analyst, we need a conversion rate optimization person. Like, so data analyst surfaces insights, the CRO agent takes those insights and comes up with hypothesis. The third one is a browser agent. Anytime when you work in digital experiences or e-commerce, you look at your data, you come up with hypothesis, and then you actually look at your digital experiences. You open your browser, you click through different things, and then you try to validate what the data is telling you. And then the last thing you do in the old world is, can you rank those hypotheses by impact, right? That's kind of a project management function. So we took this one large use case, broke it down into different chunks, and then we broke it out further into input, action, decision, output, right? And we assigned different tools to each of these processes. For the data analyst piece, Notebook LM, the sandbox version, was good enough. For CRO, we realized plugging that into Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude into an LLM, that's good for synthesizing hypotheses and synthesizing here's what can be done to fix what the data is telling us. For browsers, I realized there's an API tool called Playwright. It can initiate headless browsing and browse the website like a human would. So that's again saving some more time. And the fourth one was the project manager one, like where you take the data analysis, you take what the CRO agent is telling the hypothesis, you validate those hypotheses with what the browser experience is telling you, and the project manager will actually rank them up based on reach, impact, conference, effort, right? Just give you a playbook that gives you a roadmap on what to execute for the next few weeks. So this is something I'm trying to build, very successful with the learnings I've had so far, and it's been a great exercise in just understanding how to build an agent. Now that brings me to a fundamental question: when you can build something yourself, when you can in theory build anything yourself, why should you buy something? And that's where I have a perspective. It's never build or buy. In 2026, in the agentic AI landscape that we are in, it should never be one or the other. You should try to do both if you can. Okay, build something to learn how AI agent works. Play around with prototypes, sandboxes, build something on the weekend just to get a good grip of the fundamentals of what makes it good, right? And then you buy to scale it. A lot of times when you build something on your own, You will realize that the type of governance, the type of security, compliance that enterprise tools have, the type of protections both for the customer as well as the company, those are things that make enterprise software resilient and reliable at scale, right? So, and that's the gap that's really difficult to bridge between something you built to learn and something you bought for your enterprise, right? And that's kind of the loop that I advocate for. Building makes you a better buyer because when you sit in pitches, like I'm sure a lot of you listeners are right now, of just new AI technologies, or there's, ask from the leadership at your company to roll out more AI initiatives. Just knowing how to build or what makes an AI agent good puts you in a more informed position when you want to evaluate these solutions, right? And buying also gives you ideas for what to build next. If you are a builder like I am, I love tinkering around, spending tons of tokens, just exploring the art of possible. When you evaluate enterprise technologies or even fantastic demos like what Gina showed us or will be showing us, the question is, oh wow, that is cool. Can I build it? Should I build it? And the answer almost always is, well, build to learn, but you buy to scale. And that's my time. I'll quickly wrap this up with, hey, first thing, if you want to get into Agentic AI, figure out what your actual process is. What is the actual workflow, and understand, can AI actually help you? Like automate the mechanical pieces, like I told you, understand your project's life cycles, figure out what connective tissues can be replaced with AI, but you be the judgment. Keep your hand on the trigger. A lot of AI technologies are black boxes where you giving an input and you don't understand the output. Build so you understand what you buy and how it works and what makes it so good, right? So in conclusion, an AI agent is not something you build, it is something your workflow becomes one boring decision at a time. It's a very romantic way of looking at it, and I totally endorse it. I'm all for the romance, but I'll say, just open up your LLM, take one use case, and try to build something, and I promise you will come out wiser. That's my time. Thank you.
A romantic way of thinking about agentic workflows. I love it. What a storyteller, Anish. It is so helpful to learn about your process. Thank you for mapping it out for us, especially with those examples. We are going to see you back here in just a bit for Q&A. Thank you. Okay, and for the audience, we know we're covering a lot of information. You will have access to the deck so you can go back and reference this. Okay, moving right along, I am so excited to welcome Tracy Kraft. Tracy is the Vice President of Content Marketing at SAP. Her work focuses on transforming the content supply chain into more connected and scalable systems. She brings a forward looking perspective on how content must evolve, recognizing that it is no longer built solely for human audiences, but also AI. Tracy, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm really happy to be spending time with this awesome group of folks this morning.
Us too. Okay, so a lot is changing in the world of brand visibility and AI. We're excited to dive in. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So what I will start with is that we know that everything starts with our audience, right? Our strategies and tactics all start with what our audience needs. But there is a new audience in marketing, and I'm going to say that most of us are not designing our content for it. This audience doesn't click, doesn't scroll, doesn't actually respond emotionally, but it does something that may be even more important now because it decides what actually gets seen. So for decades, marketing has been built around human attention. We tell stories. We inspire emotion. We pride ourselves as marketers on designing experiences that people want to remember and return to. And that does still matter, absolutely. But it's no longer just the whole picture because today buyers don't start with us. You can see here that discoverability patterns have changed just in the last few years. Buyers now start with AI. They start by asking AI systems to help them make sense of their business challenges. How do I compare available approaches and give me a recommended path forward? So by the time they actually reach your brand, a meaningful part of their decision has already been shaped by the systems that gather, interpret, and summarize information. So that fundamentally changes the role of marketing. we are no longer just persuading people. We are being interpreted by machines before a human ever engages directly. So the question really becomes, what does marketing look like when it has to work for both? It has to work for the human who is experiencing it, but it also has to work for the system that is interpreting it. And one way to think about it is this. Like I said, marketing used to be about persuasion. It still is, but now it's about whether you're considered at all. So increasingly, that consideration happens in environments that we simply have no control over. It is filtered through systems that have no inherent loyalty to your brand. You don't just have to be compelling any longer. You have to be understandable. You have to be consistent. You have to be very structured in a way that AI can actually use and surface what you are producing to buyers. So this is the shift from storytelling alone to what we are considering to be more answer engineering. Not just content that persuades, but content that AI can reliably use. It has to be accurate, attributable, and consistent enough to be returned as answers. If your brand isn't the best answer, buyers may now never even see it mentioned in their research. So this is actually where the sort of old working models really start to break down. We've built marketing around campaigns, around moments in time, around individual assets designed to perform in very specific channels. That model can produce great work, but AI systems do not evaluate content in isolation. They do not recognize a single asset as a definitive source of truth. They look for patterns, and they look for patterns across everything. They're looking for consistent definitions, aligned terminology, and claims backed by credible sources. And when those patterns are very strong, the LLMs are more likely to include your perspective in their summaries, comparisons, and recommendations. When they're not, it doesn't just weaken your message. An old school way of marketing, inconsistent language, weakened your message. That now is even riskier because it completely removes you from consideration. There's another layer to this that's really very easy to underestimate. You actually don't fully control the signals that shape how your brand is interpreted. AI systems don't treat owned content as inherently authoritative. That is a major shift for this industry. They are weighing all of your content alongside third-party sources, and they are not going to see your content as inherently the most authoritative piece of content just because it comes from your brand. The AI systems are actually going to favor the sources that are clearer, more consistent, and easier to validate. So even if you have very strong expertise, if it isn't expressed coherently and at scale, LLMs will rely on other sources to answer those questions, often including your competitors. That's why we've started to think about AI differently in my organization. It is not just a tool, but it is also an audience. It is a secondary audience, but it is a critical one because it's shaping how your primary audience understands its business, challenges, evaluates available approaches, and really narrows their options. And to that AI audience, authority looks very different. Machines don't feel your brand. They recognize clarity, consistency, and proof. They reward those things. They reward content that says the same thing across sources and backs it up with evidence that they can completely trace. Really, once you start looking in it in that way, the implications become very clear. First, content cannot be created in isolation. It has to function as a connected system. Second, the goal is no longer just storytelling. It's becoming the best answer, the most accurate, the most credible, and the most consistent signal across sources. Third, creativity actually expands in this model. We're expanding from storytelling to structuring meaning so that systems can interpret and reuse our content. Because the way that you structure meaning determines whether it actually survives interpretation. So all of this actually leads to a broader shift from personalization to delegation. We used to tailor messages to buying committees. Now we have to anticipate decisions made on their behalf. You can see this in something as familiar as evaluating enterprise software, the business that I am in. An AI system will prioritize what it can verify, clear product definitions, consistent positioning, credible proof points, validation from third-party sources. It will narrow the field based on what it can compare and trust. But the human is responding to something else: risk, confidence, trust in the company behind the solution. Machines are narrowing the field, humans still make the decision, but that decision has already been influenced by the machine. So, complicated. Where does this leave us? In a place that is more demanding, but also more interesting. Marketing is no longer just communication. It's infrastructure for decision making. And the brands that win in this environment won't just tell the best stories. They're the most trusted answers, clear enough to be understood, consistent enough to be surfaced, and credible enough to be chosen. So for machines, trust looks like patterns of authority they can verify. For humans, it really looks like confidence in your story and the company behind it. These patterns of authority are established when you have a content supply chain that enables structure, governance, and content as an infrastructure. Going back, we heard Britt talk about the foundation, taxonomy, metadata, ontology, all critical to enable you to treat AI as a persona and make this shift. I'll end with the following. In a world where machines shape what gets seen, the best story is going to win the human decision, but the best data is going to win the machine, and that's why you need both.
Tracy, thank you so much. That is
Absolutely.
a great nugget to leave us with. Also, that like system level coherence that you spoke to, that really stood out to me. It's something we're thinking a lot about at Adobe too, through our own marketing. Also, how we're building our enterprise technology. So, thank you, Tracy. Don't go far. We're going to see you back here in just a minute.
You got it.
Okay, Gina's back. Hi, Gina.
I'm back. Hello.
Hello. All right. You're going to showcase Adobe Brand Visibility. This is our unified solution that provides a complete picture of how AI systems view your brand and tells you how to prioritize and optimize to grow your presence across channels. So, a lot of what Tracy was just talking about, we're going to sort of see this in action through Adobe Brand Visibility. Gina, take it away.
That's right. She teed me up so well. So just really quickly, I wanted to come back to the 3 pillars of CX Enterprise, because the thing that we're going to talk about is brand visibility. And Tracy, as I mentioned, just did a great job teeing up how important this is to make sure you're found and chosen where that discovery happens. And so Adobe has a new offering with Adobe Brand Visibility. It combines SEMrush's AI market intelligence with Adobe LLM Optimizer's optimization and measurement capabilities. And it's the industry first end-to-end application that helps brands not only understand their visibility, but also helps them with real-time content deployment and proving ROI, business impact. Okay, so let's get into it. And to show you this, I'm going to use a demo brand, Frescopa. As an example, Frescopa sells coffee products, and even has a subscription service. And here in Adobe Brand Visibility, we have a visibility overview that gives Frescopa marketers an immediate baseline of their AI presence across markets and models. It's powered by SEMrush's massive AI prompt data, leveraging real user demand. In fact, it's the world's largest database with over 300 million actual prompts and topics people are asking LLMs like ChatGPT and Gemini. So here we see Frescopa is associated with more than 500,000 monthly audience opportunities across AI conversations worldwide. This tells us the size of the demand and how effective we are at capturing it. Now, clicking into prompt research, this helps us understand the size and shape of the real demand around any topic relevant to a business. So in this case for Frescopa, let's ask about espresso. as a topic. There we go. And immediately we see thousands of related topics and associated prompts. This helps us quantify the total demand around this topic. And clicking in, we can understand and compare Frescopa against others in the market. So we can see where we're winning and where others are gaining ground and for which topics. So in LLM optimization tools, brands track prompts and topics. So for example, espresso or espresso machines, they also need to know whether their prompt strategy is actually aligned with the market. And Adobe Brand Visibility continuously evaluates the health of a brand's prompt strategy. And using AI, it identifies and prioritizes the highest impact recommendations and even helps surface any strategic gaps. So instead of manually analyzing thousands of prompts and topics, marketers get this prioritized roadmap focused on the opportunities most likely to improve their AI visibility. And beyond that, it's really quick and easy to start taking action on tracking these prompts and taking action on these recommendations. Now, insights are truly only valuable if they drive action. So Adobe Brand Visibility automatically generates prioritized opportunities for on-site and off-site optimizations. It really helps brands improve their visibility and AI experiences. Now, with this new opportunity workspace, brands can assign work, they can track progress, collaborate around specific prompts and topics, as well as visibility gaps that they might be targeting. And this is where Adobe Brand Visibility closes the loop. So once a strategy is complete, brand visibility automatically measures the improvement. So here we can correlate this change to the optimization work that was performed. That's really powerful. Beyond this, Adobe Brand Visibility is connected to Adobe CX Analytics. So here we can go one step further, connecting your AI visibility to downstream business outcomes like traffic, engagement, conversions, and revenue. This is the ROI proof that marketing leaders are asking for. So there you have it. That's Adobe Brand Visibility. It's a complete system with market intelligence, optimization, and measurement to drive brand visibility ROI. Back to you, Lindsay.
Thank you. Gina, for the audience, if you want to learn more about our new Adobe Brand Visibility solution, let us know in the survey questions to the right of your screen. We'll follow up with you. Okay, Gina, stay with us as we move to Q&A. I'm going to invite the other speakers to also come back on camera. We answered a lot of questions in the background. Thank you to our experts, but we will respond to a couple in just the last minutes that we have. Quick answers only. That's the challenge. Okay, let's see. First question for Tracy. This was a question around how are you enabling, like internally, this shift from AI as a persona at a large enterprise company? Like we know change can be a big lift. So how are you doing it?
It is. So you have to really approach it. We are approaching it as a business transformation, not just a technology initiative. And it's, this is about getting hundreds or hundreds of thousands of content creators to think differently. Content, we want it to be democratized. That is fundamentally a leadership and a change management challenge. So that really helped drive that shift. We developed a strategy paper. It articulates our point of view. It serves as the North Star for my entire content marketing organization, and is supported by company-wide enablement. So teams can understand not just what is changing but why. We're also transforming our entire content supply chain with this future in mind. We're building structured, modular, semantically rich content supported by strong governance, and Adobe really is providing the foundation for that transformation for us.
Such good intel. Okay, Britt, there was a question about, can you share best practices for actually finding the gaps? Like you talked about the gaps, how do we find them?
Yes, absolutely. So the simplest way to do this, and this is a great task for your AI, is actually to just take two systems, put their available fields and values and have it evaluated by an AI to find collisions, gaps, differentiation between two definitions. And once those have been identified, you can even, I have my own tools that recommend how I should be improving those to align them more closely. A little pro tip, if you have any M&A happening in your organization, this can really accelerate that work as you bring together different CRMs, different content supply chains to just say, AI, here's a job for you. Go find areas where you disagree and recommend how to make those areas agree.
Amazing. Okay. Gina, there was a question about CX enterprise because it spans across, the three kind of broad categories. The question was for teams just getting started. Where do you recommend they start first?
That's a great question. And the great news is you can really start from anywhere, given that it's a
Okay.
conversational interface. You can add a prompt to understand insights, run a root cause analysis, or to identify your top performing audiences. But beyond that, as I showed, we actually have a suggested prompt library to help with out of the box prompts to really get you started quickly. But also you could do what I just did, which is simply ask, what can you help me with? I have Journey Optimizer as an example. So really
Love
easy to
that.
get started.
Just ask. It'll tell
Just
you.
ask.
I love it.
Exactly.
Just ask. That's a great lesson for this. Okay, last question. Anish, how do you name your AI agents? This is a fun one.
So I like to name them after the James Bond universe personally, but a lot of times if it's something related to like our work, I usually ask the AI to name itself and then take it from there. But like an Agent M or a 007 or a 47, yeah, it's cool names.
Love it. Too fun. Okay. All right. We are out of time. We have covered a lot today, from foundations to orchestration, from scaling to discovery. Thank you so much, Tracy, Britt, Gina, Anish. For the audience, if you'd like us to follow up with a demo or more information, please let us know. Also, we have a lot of resources for you. Please check out our new customer experience innovator type quiz. This is so fun and also pretty interesting. It reveals your unique approach to customer experience and innovation. It's very fun. You will also get the on-demand recording of today's session. And again, lots and lots of resources for you. So check them out. A big thank you to our audience for being here today and to our experts. Again, Tracy, Britt, Anish, Gina, thank you for sharing your insights with us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.